This is the story of Takamiya, who is an ordinary student. He has a beautiful classmate named Kaguri, who is very popular in their school. Because of this, she was nicknamed Princess by her schoolmates. Just like him and other students, she only takes the bus to school. But Takamiya was wondering why she would ride in a public vehicle because, as far as he knows, Kaguri is the daughter of a very wealthy businessman. Not only were they in the same class, but they also sat next to each other. One time, Takamiya accidentally dropped his eraser, and when he was about to get it, Kaguri suddenly picked it up and handed it to him. He thought he was lucky because Kaguri noticed him, but it became a reason for him to be bullied and beaten by Kaguri's fans who envied him. One day, his teacher ordered him to take the papers to their room. But while walking in the hallway, his schoolmate who was with Kaguri took the papers from him. As he was walking to throw away garbage, he noticed something moving inside the trash can. He pulled it out and saw a rabbit stuffed toy which had writings on it. According to the writings, a building is going to fall. Then, just a few seconds later, a part of a building fell towards him. He thought he died at that moment, but when he opened his eyes, he was surprised because Kaguri was already carrying him, and they were floating in the air. Before he could ask questions, two rabbit robots attacked them. As Kaguri fights the robots, a woman called out Takamiya. He thought it was Kaguri's friend, so he quickly went to her, but when he got there, a large number of robots appeared. Similar to the one Kaguri was fighting, confronted Takamiya. They intended to kill him, but before they could do so, Kaguri suddenly came to save him and burned all the rabbit robots. Takamiya still thought he was dreaming because it was impossible for Kaguri to save him. Kaguri said that it is her mission to protect him because, for her, Takamiya was her princess. Suddenly, a robot stood behind Kaguri and was about to attack her. So Takamiya rushed to block the attack, but it hit him and knocked him unconscious. One by one, the robots stood up and were about to attack them again, but Kaguri got angry and ran out of patience with the opponents. She unleashed powerful flames that destroyed all the robots. When Takamiya regained consciousness, he was inside Kaguri's private room. She told him what happened and how she took him to her place. Then, Takamiya realized that Kaguri was secretly protecting him. This was the reason why Kaguri always rode the passenger bus, why they sat next to each other, and how the two of them had the same duties in their class. One day, while Takamiya was on the bus going to school, Kaguri asked him if they could sit next to each other. Because of this, Kaguri's fans were very angry with Takamiya, and their schoolmates glared at him because even on their way to school, Kaguri walked next to him. Suddenly, his stomach hurt because of the students' evil stare at him. When he came out of the bathroom, he was confronted by those who bullied and beat him before. Fortunately, Kaguri suddenly came to stop their schoolmates and protected him from bullying. During lunch break, Kaguri invited him to eat with her, but there were still a lot of classmates following them around, and Takamiya couldn't handle the mean words and stares from Kaguri's fans. So, he left. While walking, he remembered the incident where the building fell. There, he met a woman with cat ears who admitted to initiating the attack on him the other day. Like Kaguri, she also transformed into a witch. When she tried to take Takamiya away, Kaguri came to save him again. The rabbit robots they fought before reappeared, but there were more of them this time, including some giants. They attacked Kaguri and Takamiya simultaneously. When Takamiya opened his eyes, he saw Kaguri on top of him, covered in stab wounds. He was worried and frustrated that he couldn't help her, but Kaguri didn't care about herself as long as she could protect Takamiya. He got angry at first, but then he realized he should trust her. Takamiya promised not to avoid Kaguri anymore. Concerned about Kaguri's condition, she told him she could end it right away if he obeyed her. While they were under attack by the robots, Kaguri released a powerful attack that threw away all the robots, including the one controlling them. Kaguri then appeared fierce in front of their opponent as she protected Takamiya. She was almost done with the opponent, but it managed to escape. The next day, their teacher announced new classmates, girls who entered along with the one they fought before, named Koreshi, including Rin Katsura, Mei, and Kanna. Kaguri knew these 5 girls were witches like her. While on the bus, Takamiya thought about the unexpected events in his life. He was surprised that Kaguri didn't take the bus to school that day. When he arrived at what he thought was their classroom, the 4 new witches were tied up, and Kaguri was pointing a gun at them. He found out Kaguri had already gone to school to punish them. When he asked why, Kaguri said he mentioned these girls might be a problem for him. So, Kaguri didn't hesitate to punish them. Takamiya asked Koreshi why she wanted to take him. She replied they needed his body and the white thing inside him because there was another which Kaguri didn't catch. Suddenly, an attack from above took Takamiya, and the 4 witches escaped. They were about to fight Kaguri, but within a minute, they were quickly defeated. They couldn't match her power, so they fled. Takamiya woke up in Kaguri's room again, and they talked about those who wanted to take him. Kaguri wanted Takamiya to live a normal life, but they needed to defeat those who wanted to harm him for that to happen. In this case, he pleaded with her to explain everything about the witches. He also asked her to teach him how to use magic so he could help if they were attacked again. One day, while Takamiya was at home, Kaguri called and wanted to meet him. As they walked on the road, she said she would tell him what he wanted to know about witches. According to Kaguri, there are 2 types of witches, the Tower Witches, to which the 5 women they fought belong, and the Workshop Witches, to which she belongs. She explained that their job was to protect the world. On the other hand, Tower Witches acted on their own and were self-centered. They didn't care if anything happened to the human world or if someone died. While they were at the market, they encountered some Tower Witches. Kaguri made sure to protect Takamiya and the little girl they were with. The opponents seemed weak compared to Kaguri and were easily defeated, so they left the place. On their way home, Takamiya seemed bothered by what happened, so Kaguri decided to teach him magic. She told him to come with her, and when they reached their true destination, he wondered why they were at the school. There, he met Kaguri's mother and a high official of the Workshop Witches. On the same day, their 5 classmates tried again to defeat Kaguri. They didn't learn their lesson and were quickly defeated again by her. While they were on the bus and about to go home, suddenly a woman and a humanoid crocodile appeared. The bus driver disappeared, and the bus was gradually covered in darkness. The woman stood up and approached them. This girl was also a member of the Tower Witches. Kaguri couldn't move because of what the woman cast on her. Takamiya got in between them to protect Kaguri, but the woman stabbed him. He realized that everything on his body was transferred to Kaguri, but it only happened when they were together. He also found out that the reason Kaguri was so strong was because her power comes from him. It became possible when they made an agreement, and for this reason, Kaguri was willing to sacrifice even her own life just to protect him. According to this woman, if Takamiya wanted to save Kaguri, he needed to give her more power. Then the woman took out a round object and asked him to swallow it to unleash his true power. When the woman tried to make Takamiya swallow the round object, it exploded. Kaguri showed her power as her appearance changed and suddenly attacked the woman. The woman suffered some injuries from the attack, so she decided to leave. When Takamiya woke up, he saw Kaguri unconscious beside him, so he immediately took her to the hospital. When he went home, he found something that seemed like a candy in his pocket and hid it in the drawer of the table. The day of Takamiya's real training to learn to use magic had arrived. The first thing he did was jump in front of Kaguri. After he jumped, she was surprised at how high he could reach. She said that it was because of the cloak they were wearing, it made whoever wore it lighter and could move easily. The next thing she taught him was to fly using the broom, which amazed Takamiya, but no matter how he tried, he couldn't do the same. He couldn't let it out, so Kaguri decided to take him on a flight so he could get used to it until he was ready to summon his own broom. On their way home, they saw a woman being bullied by 4 other women. Takamiya wanted to help, but Kaguri didn't want to because they shouldn't interfere in the problems of humans that had nothing to do with evil witches. Because of Takamiya's desire to help the girl, he was able to let out his broom and ride on it to save the woman, but he couldn't control it and crashed into the group of women. The angry women approached to get back at him, but Kaguri was already right behind them to teach these women a lesson. She blew them all up. She told Takamiya to be careful because she found out that this was a trap. Those women were enemies who were also members of the Tower Witches. In a restaurant, the 5 Tower Witches met to discuss how they could defeat Kaguri. They thought of a way that instead of fighting her face to face, they would just wait for Takamiya to be alone, and they would take that opportunity to abduct him. But they thought that it was no use because the two of them were always together. Then another member of the Tower Witches arrived, who once fought Kaguri on the bus. She wanted to work with them to defeat Kaguri and capture Takamiya. The next day, the Tower Witches started to attack again, and they split into 2 groups. One of them went after Takamiya, and the other 3 would fight Kaguri. The woman who worked with them planned everything that they would do. When he was caught and about to be taken away, a huge teddy bear suddenly appeared. It picked up the 2 robot rabbits. It turned out to be Kazumi, Takamiya's younger sister. He was surprised to see her there because he didn't even know that his sister was also a witch. The opponent also used a robot to fight Kazumi's teddy bear. Another member of the Tower Witches arrived to help her comrades in the battle. Kazumi unleashed the true form of her pet, making it grow even bigger until its 2 opponents looked tiny, and then it stomped on them, defeating them. Takamiya hurriedly went to his sister to ask for her help because he was worried and wanted to go to Kaguri. To his surprise and relief, he saw Kaguri sitting on the giant teddy bear's hand, reading a book as if nothing had happened to her. The fight between Kaguri and the 3 members of the Tower Witches was not shown, but it was clear that Kaguri had beaten them. Takamiya also learned that his sister and Kaguri had an agreement on where Takamiya should be in their care. Because of this incident, Kaguri decided that she wanted her and Takamiya to live together in the same house so she could protect him 24 hours a day. One day, Kaguri went to Takamiya's house to formally inform his parents of her plan to live with Takamiya under the same roof. After hearing her explanations, the siblings were surprised when their mother immediately agreed to Kaguri. Their mother informed them that Kaguri was already Takamiya's fiancé. Their mother reminisced about the time when she was in school with Kaguri's mother. They were close friends and agreed that their children would have an arranged marriage in the future. Kazumi didn't like this idea, but she couldn't do anything about it. So Kaguri took Takamiya and left, leaving Kazumi furious. When they arrived at Kaguri's house, Takamiya saw a very tall building. He couldn't believe what he saw inside the house. When they reached Kaguri's room floor, someone was waiting for her, catching her off guard. She told Takamiya to go to the 12th floor and close the elevator door. Her visitor was named Medusa, also a member of the Tower Witches. Kaguri fought with her, but Medusa was very strong, and Kaguri struggled to defeat her. Takamiya got worried and tried to help Kaguri, but when he entered the room, the elevator's door caught fire and exploded. Kaguri covered his eyes to protect him. Suddenly, an ally of Medusa whistled, and Medusa turned Kaguri into stone. Takamiya didn't know what to do until he saw the round object on the floor, remembering the witch who told him it could release his true power. Hesitant but with no other choice, he swallowed it. Suddenly, a woman in white appeared. It was the White Princess Evermillion. Medusa ordered her allies to attack, but they were all defeated by the White Princess Evermillion, who retaliated with a powerful attack that defeated their opponents. Kaguri's mother, who was watching the view and enjoying her coffee, was shocked to see her house destroyed after that powerful attack while the 3 of them were still at the top. Evermillion told Takamiya the solution to return Kaguri's body back to life. She said he had to kiss Kaguri, but this made Takamiya feel unsure and hesitant to do it. The White Princess also informed him that the reason Kaguri lost the battle was because he didn't trust her enough. When Medusa woke up, Evermillion disappeared. Takamiya had no choice but to follow Evermillion's advice and immediately kissed Kaguri's cheek. Medusa's 5 minions, who had been beaten before, rushed to attack, but Kaguri taught them a lesson and the tower witches were once again defeated. Then she and Medusa fought again, and this time she was able to defeat her because Takamiya fully trusted her. When Takamiya woke up, he was in the nurse's office being monitored by Kaguri. Takamiya got up and quickly asked Kaguri if she was okay, with tears in his eyes. He told her how worried he was and thought that what happened was just a dream, but he was surprised to see Medusa and the 5 tower witches who were always beaten by Kaguri behind the curtain. So Kaguri kissed Takamiya, turning his face red, and told him that she did it because he kissed her earlier. Meanwhile, someone called Kazumi and said that there would be a gathering of all workshop witches under Kazani's care. They were given orders to look for the tower witches who caused trouble in Kaguri's house. Lately, they hadn't seen Medusa, but they caught Kronori and another tower witch who were unaware of the incident and brought them to Kazani. Since Kaguri's house was destroyed, they went back to Takamiya's house and told his mother that Kaguri was going to live with them for the meantime. The next day, the members of the student council and the furious student council president had a meeting because they couldn't find ways to separate Kaguri and Takamiya. The advisor of the student council, Mikagi, was also present, and the president of the student council ordered him to find a solution, otherwise they would expel him. As the two entered the school, their teacher Mikagi called them. He said he had something to say and took them to his laboratory. Mikagi told Takamiya about Kaguri's situation before he moved there and the problems they had been causing in their school since they had been together all the time. He begged Takamiya to stay away from her, but Kaguri opposed and told their teacher that nothing could separate them. So, Mikagi suddenly took Takamiya to a different dimension. They talked about the thing that Takamiya swallowed to bring out the White Princess Evermillion. He said that there were 5 seals on Takamiya's body that were used to lock the White Princess, but one of them was already broken when he swallowed that thing. Because of this, it was also possible to break the 4 seals one by one, and it couldn't be stopped unless Takamiya himself would be the one they needed to lock up. Since Kazani was assigned to the headquarters to watch Takamiya's movements, she was the only one who could do it. But she currently didn't know about the destruction of the seal yet. He also told Takamiya to be thankful for Kazani's strength because he was able to live a free life. Kaguri suddenly came and attacked Mikagi. She took Takamiya, and they immediately returned to the laboratory. The next day, Kaguri ordered Takamiya to announce to the whole school that all students and the teachers should go to the gym. The students immediately gathered there, and Kaguri went to the stage and began to speak using her rights as one with the highest position in the student council. She fired the current student council president and replaced her with Takamiya and her as its vice president. This was Kaguri's method so that there would be no more hindrance for them to be together. Before going home, they went to a toy store, and Takamiya bought something. When Takamiya was about to pay, Kazumi abducted him while attacking Kaguri. They immediately left, but a large dragon followed them, and Kaguri was on board. Kaguri attacked them, and Kazumi lost control until they crashed into a building, and they both fell. Kaguri immediately saved them, and the 3 of them fell into the building that owned by the workshop witches. Meanwhile, Medusa's 5 minions were planning to take Takamiya, but Kaguri was still awake. They waited patiently until morning, but they still couldn't do their plan because Kaguri didn't sleep until they themselves fell into slumber. Medusa and her 5 minions knew about the White Princess, so Kaguri hid them in Takamiya's house so that Kazani wouldn't track them because if they would be caught by her. When Takamiya entered the bathroom, he accidentally saw Medusa and the others bathing. Out of embarrassment, they attacked him, but Kazani was right there and saw the tower witches she had been looking for. She tried to attack them, but Kaguri stopped her from catching them. Medusa came to help Kaguri, and when she bit her, Takamiya lost consciousness. He dreamed of the conversations between Kaguri and Medusa while he was unconscious after their fight. Then he found out the agreement between the two. When Takamiya regained consciousness, he saw Kaguri's transformation after her fusion with Medusa. They started fighting until she turned Kazani into stone. Kaguri thought she had defeated her mother, but she suddenly got hold of her after the effect of Medusa's power immediately wore off on her. When Kazani was about to punch Kaguri, Takamiya made them switch places, resulting in him receiving the punch and losing consciousness again. When he woke up, he and Kaguri were locked up, and she told him the same thing their teacher Mikagi had mentioned about the 5 seals on his body. She planned to defeat her mother because if they defeated her, she would surely become their ally. On the other hand, Kazani was about to return carrying Medusa to torture her, but suddenly 2 workshop witches came and forcibly took Medusa. Because of this, she still did not know about the destruction of a seal on Takamiya's body while Takamiya and Kaguri managed to get out of jail. Then out of Kazani's frustration, she sent them home at school. While they were going down the stairs, they heard a noise, so they quickly went to check it out. When they reached the area, they saw a group of people wearing animal costumes causing trouble. They were chased by these people, and when Tuoko tripped, Takamiya came back to help her. The leader of this group, Rinin, approached him and gave him a letter telling him to go to the gym. Tuoko mentioned to Takamiya that she saw the former student council president reporting on Rinin about her problem, and this might be the reason for the trouble caused by this group. Kaguri knew the leader of the group, Rinin, who was known as Rinin the Bear Killer, because she killed a tiger that escaped from a zoo named Lucky Bear. Takamiya decided to go alone and meet Rinin at the gym. Inside the gym, there were other students cheering on them for a fight. Rinin approached and beat Takamiya, but when she was about to punch him again, he remembered the advice given by Kaguri on how to defeat the opponent. Because of this, he was able to avoid the attack and bring down Rinin. Suddenly, the lights went out, and Tuoko's group came to get Takamiya, but they were beaten this time by Rinin for interfering in the fight. Kaguri also came and punched Rinin in the face, causing her to immediately pass out. When the lights turned on again, they made Takamiya stand up as if he had defeated Rinin. After that, Rinin found out that the former student council president was only using her, and that they were also accomplices to increase the students' trust in Takamiya. One day, Kaguri took Takamiya in a training session on how to use his power correctly. She unleashed monster-like flames for Takamiya to spar with. The flaming monster started to attack Takamiya, but he couldn't fight properly because he hadn't released his familiar yet. He was hit hard, and Kaguri immediately stopped the flaming monster from attacking Takamiya. Kaguri was about to stop the training, but Takamiya didn't want to because he wanted to get stronger right away. That's why Kaguri took him to the edge of the building and dropped him without letting him use his broom. Kaguri wanted Takamiya to release any creature that could catch him. When he was only a few meters away from the ground, Kaguri decided to help him, but Takamiya suddenly released a giant nurse as his familiar. It punched the opposite building, then Takamiya suddenly weakened and lost consciousness, and his familiar disappeared at the same time. Meanwhile, Kazani went to a place with Rinin, and they saw the bomb that their enemy placed to hold the whole city hostage. It was done by the tower witch named Weekend. She met with Kazani, and she thought that Weekend wanted to negotiate in exchange for Takamiya, but it turned out that the bomb was a different matter. She started to blow up different parts of the city with this bomb, and because of this, Kazani weakened Takamiya, and Kaguri immediately left the school and went to Kazumi and Rinin's workshop. There he met Natsumi, the leader of the 5 workshop witches who were assigned to protect the entire city. While explaining to them about the explosions happening, Natsumi suddenly shot Takamiya, and Kaguri immediately punched her, but the gunshots on Takamiya were transferred to Kaguri, causing her to be hurt and lose consciousness. They decided to hide Takamiya in a room, and since he couldn't do anything else, he took Kaguri with him. When Kaguri woke up, he explained to Takamiya the possible reasons why they were imprisoned. One of these was Kazani's defeat, and Natsumi was waiting for her recovery while they made sure that the tower witches couldn't take Takamiya until Kazani's full power returned. Suddenly, a teddy bear fell, and Weekend's message was about to be broadcasted, but Kaguri immediately destroyed it. The two of them forced their way out of the room and saw the city destroyed by the explosions. On the other hand, Weekend gave 30 minutes to the workshop witches to bring Takamiya to her, or else the bombs attached to each witch would explode. When Kaguri and Takamiya got close to their destination, they were greeted by Weekend's ally, who attacked them. Since they couldn't use magic, they found it hard to fight properly. Fortunately, due to Kaguri's physical strength, she still defeated it. Natsumi went to negotiate with Weekend to give them more time, but she didn't agree to their plea. When Takamiya and Kaguri reached the place, he approached it so that he could have the contract with it before Weekend could detonate the bombs. Takamiya completed the contract, and as a result, the workshop witches had their powers returned. Because of this, Natsumi and others rescued those witches with bombs, and they were able to defeat Weekend. Takamiya weakened, causing him to lose consciousness and woke up next to Kaguri. When they took Weekend to her jail, she detonated a bomb and some of her allies came to help her escape. Takamiya could see what was happening to other workshop witches as they were being attacked by Weekend. So, Takamiya used his power to heal their comrades, but Kaguri was forced to put him to sleep because he was using too much of his power, which weakened him. She watched over him until Atori came and gave her a message. Then she asked Atori to look after Takamiya for the meantime. On the other hand, Kazumi fought Weekend's ally, and suddenly Medusa appeared to help her and immediately defeated the opponent. After the fight, she took her minions and left the area. Kaguri borrowed Atori's weapon and immediately left to meet Weekend. When she got there, she immediately attacked her. Then she noticed that they were surrounded by bombs. Despite the danger, their battle continued, even though Kaguri could not use her full power because Takamiya was not by her side. She wore his clothes so she could keep up with Weekend in the fight. While Takamiya was still unconscious, he dreamed of Kazani's past and suddenly met McCage, who showed him something. As their conversation continued, someone suddenly attacked them, who was also Weekend's ally. Because of this, Mikagi forced Takamiya to wake up so he could get out of there because he was the target of the enemy. When he woke up, he immediately asked Atori where Kaguri was, but before she could answer him, Mikagi called Atori and told her that there were bombs planted by the enemy in the evacuation. Takamiya heard this and forced Atori to bring him to Kaguri. Meanwhile, Kaguri was getting weaker and was being held by the monsters. Then Weekend blasted the monsters that held Kaguri. Fortunately, Takamiya came to the location, which made Kaguri regain her strength and able to use her full power. She fought Weekend and defeated her this time, but Weekend had pressed the controller for the bomb. Then Takamiya could see what was the upcoming danger, so he tried to use his power, but it only weakened him. Then he dreamed and found himself in the place where the White Princess appeared. The White Princess told him that she could fulfill Takamiya's request to return the people and buildings that were affected by the explosion, but in exchange for his own life. Takamiya did not hesitate and immediately used the power, and as a result, the city was immediately restored to its former appearance. Kaguri came up to Takamiya to stop him and told Evermillion, or the White Princess, to take her life instead. Kaguri immediately returned to her normal form, and when Takamiya was about to approach her, Weekend stabbed him. He removed the knife and tried to attack Weekend, but he was too weak and fell to the floor. This gave Weekend a chance to escape, and when they got out, Kronori was waiting for them, and she asked them to come with her. But the two got into a fight, and Weekend immediately lost it. Ori immediately went to Takamiya, and Mikagi also called. He explained the situation to Takamiya and said that it was not possible that another life would be the replacement. Since Takamiya had the agreement with the White Princess, Mikagi thought of a way to possibly save Kaguri's life. They started to do it with the help of Atori, and the last thing Takamiya had to do was to kiss Kaguri. He kissed her on the forehead, but it did not change anything, so they asked him to try it on the lips. Takamiya was shy but actually wanted to do it too. Before he could do this, Kaguri's breathing returned, and she woke up. On the other hand, after getting out of prison, Kazani went straight to Kronori in Weekend's location. Then Weekend found out that Kazani did not need a week to regain her strength, instead, it would only take her 20 hours. But she decided to stay in prison and let Kagari and the others face the enemies. Now that Kazani wanted to take weekend from Kronori, they had a fight. At that moment, Takamiya found out that Evermillion promised something to Kagari, that she would come in case something happened, that Takamiya needed strong power when his life was in danger. Evermillion also confessed that she did not give Takamiya her power, and it was Takamiya himself who released his own power to bring back the people in the city in order. After the incident, they lived peacefully. One day while they were walking to school, they were stopped by 5 tower witches, but then again, they were defeated by Kagari in that fight. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel.